Aman Motwane is a motivational speaker and author of books and newsletters which focus on solving problems by using wisdom. Wisdom he defines as seeing clearly. Welcome to Making It. We're glad you're here with us.
Thank you.
Sounds very simple, but it's not quite that simple, is it?
It's simple to understand, but it takes a little process to go through to actually implement in your life.
Well, let's talk about finding the right path to entrepreneurship. What is the first thing a person needs to determine?
The absolute first thing you have to determine about yourself is what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how can you make your strengths even stronger, how can you make your weaknesses irrelevant to whatever it is you're trying to do, and then most of all, when might your strengths turn into weaknesses? So in other words, you must know yourself completely, without bias, without judgment, without ego. Right. Just know yourself.
That's the duality that you talk about.
That's the duality of yourself,
right.
Yes.
A lot of people don't want to look at their weaknesses. They just want to keep defining their strengths.
Yes.
Okay, many times people do a lot of research, a ton of research, and then after they've gathered all that information, they really just don't know what to do with it. They become overwhelmed.
Yes. You know, one of the things that we as human beings have is we have the ability to think. So because we have the ability to think we should think and think and think and think. The reality is when you look out into nature, you find that everything in nature survives by thinking and acting simultaneously. So what's really important is to think so you can see if your acting is on track.
Right.
And then you should act to see if your thinking is on track. So what I want to suggest is think and act. If you do some research, act on it right away. See if it makes sense, if it's working in the real world. And then after you've acted, start thinking a little bit more and act and think and act and think.
And you also say to sometimes not do anything and let things happen. Sometimes things will eventually
and that's the duality of you should both make things happen and you should allow things to happen, because you never know what might come up and what path might open up for you.
Right. A lot of people get started and they make a lot of bad habits and continue to do that, and they develop those over time. What's one way to change your routine before that becomes a really, really bad habit?
The most important thing to do to change your routine so that bad habits don't engulf you, whether the bad habit is procrastinating or becoming a workaholic or working on things you shouldn't be working on, is to learn to see reality straight in the eye. Most of us don't like to. We like to live in delusion. But I always say, even if it's tough, just look at reality as it is and then act on it. Even if it might be difficult in the short term, just act on it. And when you move forward, your habits will start falling behind you.
What would you say is one of the biggest pitfalls for successful entrepreneurs?
The biggest pitfall I've found with successful entrepreneurs is ego. They forget that their success comes from learning, always wanting to learn. Every event, every person, every customer, every supplier, every employee has something to teach them. But what they do is they get into this ego. Oh, I'm successful and I figured it all out and I don't need to learn from anybody else. And I'm not just talking about going to a classroom or a workshop or reading a book. I'm talking about learning in the moment from everything that walks into your life.
Well, let's talk about evaluating, and how do you know that your business is on the right track?
How do you know your business is on the right track? Very simple. Just like in our body, we need a heart to be pumping at a particular pace. In the same way, every business has to be pumping at a particular pace and a particular rate. So it's important to try and figure out what is that rate. For example, with Walgreens, they have figured out that they need so many customers walking in the door every day, and each customer must spend an average of so many dollars every day. And now that they know that, that makes the company successful because they have learned to make everything align so that they can reach that pace.
I'm going to give you a quote that you gave us in your book. When you change how you see the world, your whole world changes. I can see that very personal. How do you relate that to an entrepreneur and their business?
For an entrepreneur, looking, like we said before, looking at reality straight in the eye is so important that if you don't look at reality, it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how much education you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have to invest. You will always struggle to survive and struggle to be successful. So it's always important to look reality straight in the eye, because that's what's going to make your business successful.
Thank you very much. The power of wisdom. So much power. Okay, we will tell you how to reach Aman Motwane right after this break. Stay with us.